You're tuned to Barbados Agrofest 2012, live from the DV South Winds Resort in Barbados. This is Webb Internet Radio and Smack Productions as we present Agrofest 2012 here at the DV South Winds Hotel and Resort. And it's time for our next guest. And Miss Andrea Brathwaite, would you kindly introduce us to our next guest?
Definitely. We have Andre Skeete, and he's an information officer with the Barbados Government Information Service. Now, Andre, tell us a little bit about the role of the Government Information Service.
Hi, I just want to say, first of all, thanks for having me. The GIS, we are, in essence, we try to educate and inform the public of Barbados in terms of what is happening in the governance of Barbados. We try to keep them abreast of issues relating to projects that the government will be carrying out that would, impact on them and stuff like that. This is done through our television promos, our programs, which are thrown through the Caribbean Broadcasting Corporation. We also do radio spots, promos, radio programs. We also send press releases to members of the media houses, and we also now have a web page which we also put a lot of our information on, or the audio clips. We also do some video clips, but we definitely do press releases and stuff like that.
Okay, so what would we be seeing from GIS as it relates to Agrofest?
Well, our role in terms of Agrofest is quite varied. Not only are we there in an advisory capacity, we advise them in terms of media relations and marketing and in terms of getting their information out. But we also, as sponsors, we also have a booth. We have a booth at Agrofest as well. We use that opportunity to showcase some of the products and let people know some of the things that we do within the GIS. For instance, we have a marketing department, and they publish several books over the years. A coffee table book which has photos on old Barbados. We also have a book on British tongue as well. There's also one called Principles of Barbados. These publications are very popular among Barbadians, so we try once in a while, to drum up interest again and get persons interested in looking at these books, because they're keepsakes and they're very, I think they're very beautifully crafted books and beautifully done books, and we also try to promote it to persons in overseas markets. So we keep trying to let people know what we do and what the products that we have, because a lot of people think of GIS, but they only remember like Journal 5 and a lot of the TV programs that people have known growing up. But there's a lot more to GIS now, per se, than what would have happened before. Like I said, we have a website now. So there are a number of things that we're doing to keep persons informed, and Agrofest is one way that we do that.
Okay. Now, how would you have approached Agrofest over the years? Because some might say, well, it's the same display of animals and produce and so on. How do you keep the information different, alive, new, fresh, continue to generate that interest, making sure that people go out and see the exhibit?
Well, personally, I've been with the Agrofest committee for about two years now. This is my second year. But I find it's one of the more easier jobs in terms of getting the public interested in the National Festival. I must admit, I'm very surprised at the number of people passing through it every year. It seems like more. What we basically try to do, we highlight the new features, and credit must go to the Barbados Agricultural Society for trying new things and trying different ways of getting not only information out, but how the festival is managed. This year we have a theme in terms of renewable energy, powering agriculture to success. So we're going to see a lot of renewable energy exhibits, also in terms of like solar power. They're also going to be using that same solar power in the management of the festival itself and the running of the festival. So it's quite easy in terms of getting that information. But Barbadians are generally interested in the national festival, and we just try to keep them abreast of what is happening, if there are any changes this year, what they can look forward to, and they readily come and support the festival.
And the renewable energy theme is in keeping with the direction that the government of Barbados has been going in, because we have been hearing a lot in recent times about renewable energy and, trying to implement the necessary technologies and so on.
Yes, greening has been a theme in government for a while now. It's not only about on renewable energy, but leaving something for future generations. It's a case now where government is trying to cut back in terms of, let's say, example, maybe uses of paper, but also they've now tried to show how through the division of energy. When I was there as well, they had set up a solar house in the same Queen's Park, showing how you can do everyday things to cut down on that energy bill, and that is so critical nowadays. Especially in this time of what we call a financial crisis or maybe a recession. But the most important thing, I think that's where the GIS will come in as well. It's not only about speaking about government projects and plans, but showing the public how through their everyday existence that they can do simple things to help themselves, whether it be using the energy saving device in the home to see how much energy you're using, how you can do simple things that make sure the fridge door is closed properly so you don't waste that energy. Those simple things that we do, we try to encourage persons also like use those energy saving bulbs. Those simple things go a long way in terms of helping reduce that energy bill, and also we try to promote the same renewable energy focus as well.
Okay. And how do children feature in many of the products that you might be presenting to the public?
In terms of Agrofest?
Agrofest and any other products?
We use children occasionally. In terms of when we're looking at nation building, you would find that, for instance, on the one hand, you will have a lot of children interested in our publications for school projects, national heroes, the national emblems, even some of the same old Bridgetown coffee table books. Kids will be interested in the information in those as well. But we also use them in terms of, remember we did a promo for independence, and we thought of ways that we could, how can we approach this differently this year? Because 44 years is a long time, and we decided to use children in terms of using like the national pledge, from the mouth of babes, as they would say. Try that approach, and it was well received. And what they say is true: the children are the future. And using them in such a way really, enabling them to the Barbadian public, and it's something that we would look at again as well.
Okay, because tomorrow is going to be a day that we're just going to see huge amounts of kids going into Agrofest.
Definitely. From our end as well, we recently produced a book, an interactive book called Sticks and Stones. I should mention here that one area of GS that we're looking to promote at Agrofest is the HIV awareness aspect. We have a committee in the office, and we were looking at ways that we can reach young persons in talking about HIV/AIDS and sexual practices. That's how this book came up. Not only does it speak to the issue of stigma and discrimination, but there's also an interactive CD where you can sit down with your parents and you can look at issues related to HIV and AIDS and discuss them. And it also asks questions about the book, so you have to read through the book and respond as well. But the book, it has been a great tool in spreading that HIV/AIDS awareness, and we have a lot of smart kids out there. We've had some very good feedback from the book, and they've told us ways that we think we can improve it. They also spoke to us in terms of how they would make the book better and stuff like that. So we're very appreciative of the feedback from them. But the kids have responded quite well to the book.
I'd like to ask a question. Sure. How do you measure response from the information services that you make available to the public in their various sectors? For example, you mentioned HIV/AIDS and other social things. Now we come over here. Probably on your agenda this month has been the Agrofest, okay? Now you prepare information for that. How are you able to gauge response or feedback or interactivity?
The office will be face-to-face contact. We interface with the public in several areas, particularly with HIV and AIDS. We recently conducted a survey looking at things that, like I said, persons would wish to see in terms of what we're doing. I know also a while back in terms of the office and on the whole, we had also done a survey to get feedback on what we can do to improve our programs and reach the public. But generally speaking, we have a lot of feedback through the office. A lot of people call and ask us questions, and they would also tell us things that they would wish to see. And basically our web page kind of formed out of that, partially, because we want to find another way to interface with the public. And truth be told, we also have a YouTube page which people view quite well, so we know in terms of viewership how that is going, and the programs we put on, how many people have viewed it and stuff like that. But I find that Barbadian society, that interface, they have a vested interest in the GIS, so they ask us questions, they tell us what they would like to see, and we try to implement them. Budget permission and other stuff like that. But I find that we sometimes in government on the whole, we need to move a little faster in terms of getting stuff like the internet and stuff up to date. But I think the GS has been doing quite well in terms of reaching out to the public. And we get feedback in terms of the website as well. People call and ask, even from overseas, as I think even one person as far as Slovakia, they email us and ask us, how can we get this information? How can we do this? I want to come to Barbados. We've seen your website. What must I do to get here? Or what can I do? What information can I get from immigration? What services you offer? What is there in Barbados that, that would hold interest for me? So I find that we are getting a lot of feedback, particularly now with the website, and it's something that we would try to improve upon as time goes, and we would work to suit.
More like the website is going to be one that really does it. Everybody's using it. People are getting more and more trained to use the internet to find specific information. We're talking to Mr. Andrea Skeete. He is the information officer at the GIS, the Government Information Services. Nice to have you here with us. Mr. Skeete, what is a challenge with information? Because we live in a world where information you go to sleep for 2 days and you come back and the whole world has changed. What's some of the challenges in the information services and getting the word out there, getting information back? What are some of the things you really have to work on and keep you up at night?
Well, the truth is that in terms of information in this day and age, you can't sit back. You can't sit back on information. It has to be constant, and that's what we've been working towards. We can't have something coming out, say, at 10 o'clock in the morning, and then you send it out at 3 o'clock. It must be instant. So that was one area that we have looked at in terms of our website. Information also is becoming increasingly difficult out there in terms of disseminating accurate information. Let me explain. You have so many forms now. You have different websites. You have blogs, or what the case may be. Everybody has their own vested interest in terms of information, but we have to ensure as a GIS that the information coming from government side, or we're going to the office to the Barbadian public, that is accurate and relevant.
Right.
And that I wouldn't say necessarily it's a challenge, but it's a challenge dealing with all these sources of information coming to the Barbadian public. And you have to say, no, that's not correct. No, this is what the situation is, and that is becoming the challenge. So much piece of information. You have in the cell phones, you have in the Blackberries, and we are trying to remain as relevant as possible in terms of getting the information out quickly and as accurate as possible. But like I say, it's difficult along those lines, but like I said, we'll keep trying.
I can understand that. I mean, just talking about that aspect. I mean, years ago, maybe before our time, people used to say, well, somebody came from town over another island and came here and said this or that and blah, 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 blah. Then we came along and they said, well, I read it in the newspaper, such and such and so-and-so. And then, we see signs up. You know what the sign said? The sign said thus and so, vote for this or that one. And now newspaper, then magazines, and then tons of those, and tons of newspapers. Now we got the internet, and we've got blogs, and we've got just YouTube. Can't forget them. MySpace, Facebook.
Exactly.
That's going to be my next question, because you mentioned YouTube, but are you utilizing like other social media?
We're looking.
That's a good question.
Yeah,
I'm listening, Skeete. I'm listening.
It's a very good question. I'll answer the best I can.
Shall I ask it again?
Answer it again.
You mentioned YouTube. What about other social media sites?
We are looking at the using Facebook and other social elements or other social media to get our information out. The challenge is that there must be some sort of policy in terms of dealing with that. Because it's going to be very difficult that, say, you have one government department, you have another, and we just get out and go on Facebook and put stuff up. But there must be some overarching policy to govern that, because you can't put everything up. So that's what we're looking at now in terms of getting that out. Probably, maybe by the time, hopefully we can get it done as quickly as possible, but the process takes time. But we are aware of the change in social media, and we are looking to get.
I can understand.
And we're looking to get that policy going.
I think that's a good answer too, because again, things change. Anybody can put anything up on,
exactly,
and it goes viral. Exactly. And that's what they say now. It goes viral.
MySpace was the popular thing a while ago. Now it's Facebook. Who says what's going to be there tomorrow?
And then I'm sure from your standpoint, the Government Information Service, as you mentioned before, you need to be credible. And
exactly. Exactly, and I think that's what has stood us well over the years in terms of sending credible information. When we send out stuff, we say, "Hey, it's from the GIS," it's good information. It's coming from a credible source, whatever the case may be. So we try to maintain that. Like I said, the challenge now is getting out that information as quickly as possible. You have to compete also with media outlets who now have online capabilities, so they will send stuff out as soon as they have it. But we also have to monitor that, be aware of what is being said, and try to respond if it's not maybe as accurate as it, or there's something that's that you need to add. But we're trying to keep on top of the situation. But you can understand the challenge with that. The internet is a broad and a big space, and to monitor it takes resources and time as well. But so far we're doing very well.
But Ken, I want to put local knowledge here on you.
Okay.
I want to commend GIS because in recent times they have been producing a lot of very relevant, modern programming that has been dealing with a lot of very important issues. And earlier we were talking about the chronic non-communicable diseases, and they have had programs that have dealt with health and wellness. Recently there was a cooking program geared towards young people. I'm sure there are other things that you might want to mention, but I thought these were very good initiatives which showcased a different side to what we perhaps have
accustomed
always
to GIS,
expected of the GIS, which is like the government information arm, So
that has been a challenge, in the sense that when people hear GIS, it's like, oh, it's going to be a long drawn out thing. But we recognize that, and that people would say that. But we try to, as you would have mentioned, we try to tailor our information to suit that. For example, the same cooking shows, we try to show people healthy ways of eating, living healthy, exercise, because these things are relevant to the Barbadian public. If you walk up and down Spring Garden Highway now, you see people exercising every day. People exercise in front of GS on Browns Beach. What we're also doing now, in keeping the theme of agriculture, we're looking at doing also a series on agriculture in terms of encouraging persons to home gardening. The same thing, cutting down on necessarily that high supermarket, that food bill. So we can look forward to that, teach people how to garden. In addition to that, in terms of dealing with pests, all those things related to home gardening and organic gardening. So we can look out for that. That'll be coming soon. I'm working on that in conjunction with officers in GIS. So that will probably be out within the next couple of months.
Mr. Skeete, I got a final question.
Sure.
This is a good one.
Are you sure? Are you sure?
This is great.
Okay.
How'd you get into this business? I mean, you seem to be a guy that loves statistics and numbers and communicating. How come you picked this rather than, say, football?
Well, in terms of football, fear of my life. How should I start? The first time you say, Andrea are our colleagues from Barbados Community College.
Way back.
Way back. Yeah, we did mascot.
He's not
Your
as young as he
lockers were
looks.
right next to each other.
Not as young as he looks, but I am much younger than,
Your lockers were right next to each other.
Yeah, I mean, I when I would have been leaving school, I was like, wow, what am I going to do next? And I heard someone mention about an internship at Starcom Network, which should be one of your local radio stations, right? And I tried out for it, and I fell in love with the media. I was at Starcom. I left there. I went to CMC with Andrea as a colleague for a short time as well as an internship. And then I would have gone back to Starcom to work, say, for a couple of years. I always loved the media. I love to write. That's what does my background, my degrees in writing English. And from there, I had the opportunity to work at GIS. I was a little hesitant at first. I wasn't exactly sure how it worked in terms of the public service. But when I got there, I realized that you can never imagine working in government could be such an exciting job. I mean, apart from this day-to-day grind, that is the truth. A lot of paperwork, you have to do a lot of releases, you have to write a lot of radio programs, TV, whatever. But this job has taken me to places that I would have never dreamed. I've been to China to cover our Prime Minister meeting with members of the Chinese government. I've been to Grenada working after a hurricane. In terms of getting information out, in terms of the relief efforts and stuff like that. I've been to Costa Rica, many places. I mean, it is a job that persons would not actually think working in government, these things can happen. But it's an interesting field in terms of information. Like you said, there are challenges, and you always have to remain relevant and be on top of information. It can change in an instant. Like I said, my space was here, now it's space, but by tomorrow it could be something else. BlackBerry could be out tomorrow, it could be into something else. So you always have to remain relevant, and that's what we try to do. We try to keep on top. It can be a very expensive process.
but we keep trying.
Well, I want to thank you very much, Mr. Skeete, for joining us here.
Thank you.
And when you went to school, did you carry Andrea's books?
No, she.
Oh, okay. I just wanted to check. A small item, just a little item. That's all.
And she didn't take any change from me. She didn't.
I hear that. I hear that. Thank you very much for being with us, and we'll see you out there tomorrow and the next day out at the Queen's Park.
I'll be there.
And go come by your booth and pick up some literature, all right?
No problem.
All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
We want to thank Mr. Skeete for joining us here from GIS, Government Information Services.